The health of the leader of the Chechen Republic, Ramzan Kadyrov, is deteriorating. This has accelerated the process of transferring power to his heir. This was reported by Novaya Gazeta Evropa. According to the publication, Kadyrov has accepted the doctor's diagnosis and has begun preparing his successor. The Chechen leader is reportedly strengthening the positions of his children and loyal clans for this purpose. The report states that although Kadyrov's condition stabilized in 2023, it deteriorated again in early 2024, but he preferred to be treated at his wife's private clinic, IMED, instead of Moscow. After brief public appearances, he disappeared again. Since February, Kadyrov has spent most of his time at IMED, rarely appearing in public and traveling only by ambulance helicopter. His public activity is limited to posts on social networks, and his functions are performed by Prime Minister Magomed Daudov. The main signal of the change was the unexpected resignation of his daughter Aishat from the post of Deputy Prime Minister. Two more daughters, Kutmat and Kadijat, left the civil service with her. Business assets have also begun to be transferred to relatives. According to sources, this is due to preparations for taking control of businesses outside the framework of the law on civil service, which prohibits officials from engaging in entrepreneurial activities. Kadyrov has 14 children, but the focus is on Aishat, and it is on a 17-year-old man. It is the man who appears as the successor. According to the Telegram channel VCHK-OGPU, the ongoing tensions between the Kremlin and Chechen head Ramzan Kadyrov stem from Kadyrov's plan to transfer power to his 17-year-old son, Adam. Journalists and human rights defenders have often mentioned Kadyrov's health problems. In particular, in April 2024, the Russian independent media outlet Novaya Gazeta Europe reported that in 2019, Kadyrov was diagnosed with pancreatic necrosis, a severe and often fatal condition. Novaya Gazeta Europe wrote that his health worsened after contracting COVID-19 in 2020, which led to additional issues with his endocrine system. However, Kadyrov has repeatedly denied rumors about his ill health. In August 2024, he claimed that he was perfectly healthy, adding that doctors described his body as that of a young man. As reported, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov has opened talks with several Middle Eastern monarchs behind the back of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin over the safety of his family and assets. According to TVNet media outlet, Kadyrov understands perfectly well how power works in Russia and Chechnya, and what might await members of his family if he loses his post or dies. He is also well aware that promises and security guarantees from Moscow or Putin have no value. A former FSB officer who specialized in issues of the North Caucasus spoke about Kadyrov's conflict with the Kremlin. He said that Kadyrov seeks a way out of Putin's Russia. When a dictator loses power, he can no longer guarantee anything to anyone, even his family and inner circle. It is not surprising that Kadyrov, realizing where things are heading, is trying to save the remaining money and his family somewhere outside the system that gave him power and money. And it is also not surprising that the system does not like this at all, because it is based on a simple principle. As long as you are in it, everything is available to you. There is no limit to enrichment, but there is no way out. There is no option to get rich and run away. Everything you have is not really yours. It is simply for your use as long as you are loyal and useful. After all, in this case, Kadyrov is no different from Putin. In this case, Chechnya is Russia in miniature. The life of a dictator is almost like a waking dream. As long as you are alive, as long as you are in power, as long as you are valuable to the system, you have everything. You are equally indifferent to the law and the court, any rules. But if something goes wrong and you lose power, no one will provide any guarantees to you or your loved ones because the law and the court do not exist. Apparently, he still understands that a ministerial seat will not protect a 20-year-old girl or a 19-year-old guy from what will begin to happen in Chechnya during the division of power after Kadyrov himself is gone. Apparently, Kadyrov understands that the only way to save his relatives is to make sure that by the time he himself loses power or life, his family is already in a place where they either cannot be physically reached or where they decide not to be reached. Bogdan Dolintz, aviation expert, member of the Public Council at the State Aviation Service of Ukraine, noted that a lot of military equipment will be accumulated and stored in Moscow on the eve of the May the 9th parade. There were reports that 280 air defense systems are being deployed to Moscow for the May the 9th parade. However, it should be understood that any air defense system has a certain efficiency coefficient. Of course, the more counter systems are installed and more interceptors are launched to destroy targets, the higher the probability of hitting aerial targets. However, no air defense system in the world guarantees 100% destruction of all targets, as we saw on May the 4th during the attack on Israel, when one of the most powerful air defense systems failed to intercept enemy missiles, commented the aviation expert on Espresso TV. He said another important point about the military parade in Moscow is that attacking certain targets during the event could put nearby civilians at risk. Ukraine adheres to international laws of war and is unlikely to attack the parade itself. However, the accumulation of military equipment in Moscow ahead of May the 9th and the storage of this equipment after the parade, considering it is mostly combat equipment, makes its destruction an important target. We understand that the decision to carry out such strikes falls within the realm of military actions. Moreover, the military operates based on intelligence information to determine whether these targets are truly top priorities today or if there are other equally important targets. It should be noted that we will also be limited by the resources and means available to us. This includes the number of systems we can launch, their characteristics, such as range and effectiveness in hitting targets. We see that periodically Ukrainian strike systems destroy targets. Let me remind you, a Russian Su-30 aircraft was destroyed recently, and such targets are no less important than hitting armored vehicles on Moscow's territory. Striking armored vehicles can be more challenging than hitting a critical link in the production chain of the enemy's military-industrial facility, noted Bogdan Dolintz. Military journalist Andriy Tsaplienko reported that 280 air defense systems were deployed to Moscow ahead of the May 9th military parade.